going to jump into this quick series before Blacklight Dodgeball. It is on money. We're going to be talking about money, going to be having a discussion. Hopefully in the home groups we'll have a pretty good discussion. But I've been really challenged the last few months of practical discipleship. There's part of me that really wants to talk about real life issues and how Scripture speaks to that, and how we can grow as Christ followers in real aspects of our life. And part of that is money, is wealth, and we're going to explore that today. The goal is that we can have a holistic discipleship. We talked about how media influences us. We're digging into Scripture on Sunday morning with our Bible studies. That we just see this as another training point in our walk with Christ. This week we're going to deal with the theology or the doctrine of money. Next week we're going to have a practical conversation, about money, about how do we honor Christ, how do we honor God with being a good steward. Let's jump into the text for today. It is Matthew 6:19 through 24. Let's get some context to this passage. It is a passage that is often taken out of context, so let's understand it in the way that Jesus intended. First off, it is part of the Sermon on the Mount. This is a portion of Jesus' ministry where, you look, if you have one of those red letter Bibles, a lot of chapter 5, chapter 6, and chapter 7 is in red letters. It means it's the words of Christ. And so Jesus goes through practical discipleship. In chapter 6, it deals with how to pray, how to give, how to fast, and that we do all that to God's glory, not our own. That's where we get the verse where it talks about don't let the left hand know what the right hand's doing. When we get to the passage that we're going to talk about today, storing up treasures. What does it mean by storing up treasures in heaven versus storing up treasures here on earth? And then followed directly after that, which I think is on purpose, is intentional, that Jesus is walking us through this, but it's do not worry. And it talks about how God provides for the flowers of the field, the birds of the air. How much more should he apply, or how much more would he care? That is the hope for this lesson, is that we can dive into storing up treasures. And what does it mean by that? Looking at this, it seems that Jesus is breaking it down to the practical, the basic steps, right? That's what the Sermon on the Mount is mostly, is just the basics. Let's look and read chapter 6, verses 19 through 24. It says, "Do not store up for yourselves treasures on earth, where moths and vermin destroy and where thieves break in and steal. But store up yourselves treasure in heaven, where moths and vermin do not destroy, and where thieves do not break in and steal. For where your treasure is, there your heart will be also. The eye is a lamp of the body. If your eyes are healthy, your whole body will be full of light. But if your eyes are unhealthy, your whole body will be full of darkness. If then the light within you is darkness, how great is that darkness? No one can serve two masters. Either you hate one and love the other, or you'll be devoted to one and despise the other. You cannot serve both God and money." Chris got me hooked on the show called Curse of Oak Island. I don't know if you've seen this show, but Curse of Oak Island, it's this mystery about this island in Nova Scotia, Canada. There's this treasure supposedly on the island. Hundreds of years of people, of searchers looking for this treasure from, even President Roosevelt, before he was president, was looking for treasure on Oak Island. It's this mystery of what is on Oak Island. They've done all these bore testing and they find wood like at depths that what is going on? And they found this shaft that goes down and with a stone on top and says like 90 feet, and then all of a sudden the shaft filled up with water. There's this mysteriously swamp that they keep on finding weird trinkets in, and and so all this treasure. And there's thoughts and conspiracy theories of it's treasure for the Knights Templar, or it's original manuscripts of William Shakespeare. But all this treasure potentially even predates the founding, quote unquote, Christopher Columbus in 1492. And it's all stored up under the ground, hundreds of feet underground. And we're trying to find, or the searchers are looking for it, but most likely it's flooded because of some booby-trapped tunnels, or it's destroyed or aged so much that if they were to find it, they bring it out, William Shakespeare's manuscripts would be ruined. This idea that we want something to last, but none of that lasts. The treasure doesn't go with us when we die. That the people that put whatever treasures at Oak Island or the pyramids or etc., they're dead, and their treasure is still here. We have this obsession as humankind to take stuff with us. You think of hoarders. What are they going to do with those stacks of magazines? It is crazy the amount of junk that we as human beings collect, and we're obsessed with this idea of taking it with us. Or maybe the root of this obsession is this desire to be significant, right? This desire to leave a legacy. And there can be some, I guess, good parts of that we need to leave a legacy for, those that come after us. Here in Scripture, it talks about that none of that is going to last. That unless you store up your treasures in heaven, nothing's gonna last. Now, we're not talking about, airmailing gold to the great beyond, right? To heaven. We're talking about what really matters. Life change and the kingdom advancing. Now, this idea of wealth or power, authority, this worshiping, this money or wealth, it's all over Scripture. From the beginning, it's Jacob and Esau, and Jacob steals Esau's inheritance. Or we have Saul when he's told to take out a group of people and kill their livestock and everything that would be wealth. And he doesn't, because he sees it as wealth, as a waste, right? And he dishonors God by doing that. We think of the parable of the prodigal son. He squanders his inheritance, his wealth, and he ends up eating with pigs. The rich young ruler that comes to Jesus that says he keeps all the commands, but ultimately he was worshiping the god of money. Think of Ananias and Sapphira, who sold an estate of sorts and gave some to the church and lied about how much percentage they gave, and they were killed instantly. God judged them right then and there. So money and wealth, power, authority, there's no doubt that we as human beings struggle worshiping that and storing those treasures up on earth instead of heaven. That's interesting. It goes into our eyes, right? Talks about healthy eyes being full of light, right? Now, he's not, hating on blind people, but instead he's hating on those that are spiritually blind. That Jesus is talking to those who see darkness, not those who are blind, but those who only see worshiping money, only seeing worshiping power or wealth as benefit to their life. Instead, we need to fix our eyes on Christ. We need to be like the author of Hebrews that says, throw off everything that hinders and fix your eyes on Christ. I think too often this passage gets pulled out of context, and it's really weird that they pull it out of context because people focus on the gift instead of the giver of the gift, the giver of the blessing. They start worshiping the blessing itself, the freedoms, the abilities, the generosity that can come out of having wealth or power. I don't know if you've heard of this analogy of having every person has two dogs inside them. It just, one is good, one is evil. It just depends on who you feed more. And I think that analogy is full of garbage. Because we look at Matthew 6 and it says no one can serve two masters. Either you'll hate one or love the other. So this idea that we can serve both, we just have to keep them both happy or both fed. We can't do that. We can't serve both money and God. If we're serving money, if we're serving our desire for power, we're never going to be satisfied. It's not two dogs and it depends on which one we're feeding more. It's either one or the other. Either we're serving money and we're desiring this power, this authority, this wealth. We're giving God the glory of this wealth and the blessings that we get from God himself that has blessed us with. Because ultimately money is a tool. Dollar bills, coins, yen, loonies, pounds, euros, I don't care what you're using. It's a tool that we can use in order for the sake of the gospel to move forward. Because ultimately our treasures, our investments, our long-term investments should be that of the kingdom of heaven. That's what lasts. That money, that gold, that silver, I'm not going to be able to take it with me. Yes, I'll be able to pass it on to my children, hopefully, and help them continue. But the goal should be that, to glorify God. It shouldn't be to glorify myself. Money is a tool for the kingdom to advance. As we have a discussion next week with Chris, who is a lot better handling money than myself, but we're going to discuss like the practicalness of money. Of what it means to be a good steward as a middle school student, as a high school student, as you move on from high school, as a college student. What are some tools? What are some strategies? What are some practical steps that we can use to be a good steward of what God has given us? So I hope you have a great discussion in your home group. This is going to be a short lesson series, but it's a very important one that I hope we walk away with, understanding that our treasures are found in heaven, not in our wallet, not in our bank account. It's instead our walk with Christ, those who we can bring with us to walk with Christ. That's the treasures that matter. Thank you guys for taking some time to take a look at this video. We will see you guys next week. Remember to subscribe to get notifications for this. Also, we have our newsletter that has a sign up for Blacklight Dodgeball. It's on the app. It's great. Guys, take a look, check it out. We'll see you guys next week.